Okay, this lesson goes with Introduction to Biblical Hebrew by Kittel and Hoffer, Lesson 3. Our sentence for this lesson is this one. First question is, how would we pronounce this sentence in Hebrew? So the first word, vayelech, vayelech. Second word, David, David. And the final word, misham, misham. So if we put it all together, vayelech David misham, vayelech David misham. Okay, so the first thing we want to do then, in translating this sentence, is look for words and forms that we recognize. So this word should be familiar to us, David, of course meaning David. Then the question is, what is the relationship between David and the verb in this sentence? If you look at the sentence structure, vayelech David, we are going to assume that David is the subject of the verb because it follows immediately after the verb, and it matches the verb in person, gender, number. That is, it's in gender number. Sorry, it is masculine singular noun following a third masculine singular verb. So it's the subject. Remember that typical Hebrew word order is verb plus subject. Not always the case, but generally the case. Alright, now we also recognize at least the form of this word with the vav patach double. You've seen this form numerous times in the past. This marks the vav conversive. When we see vav, patach, and double with the yod, then we know that this word is a verb, that it will be translated in the past tense, and that it is a prefixed form of the verb. When we see a vav conversive, we know that it's a prefix form of the verb, then we're looking for the prefix, which in this case is the yod. The yod tells us that this verb is third person, masculine, and singular. The only form of the prefix verb that you currently officially know is the yod prefix third masculine singular, although you have encountered a couple of others in some of the examples. So we can parse this verb at least somewhat. First of all, we know that its form is prefix. We know that because of the yod, its person, gender, and number are third masculine and singular, and we know that it is vav conversive. Now, we can then sort of translate that this means, and he did something or other. In order to know what the something or other is, we know the root. So if we know that vav patach and the double are markers of the vav conversive and the yod is the prefix, then that leaves us two root letters, lamed and chaf. Now, of course, this is a problem because Hebrew roots are, for the most part, triliteral, and we only have two letters. So what then are we to do? Some Hebrew roots are weak, so they lose letters in certain forms. You've already encountered one of these in your vocabulary. We talked about the word bo, bet vav aleph, which is the infinitive to enter. But when we put it in the form of the affix form, he entered, it becomes ba, bet aleph, and loses its vav altogether. So we've already encountered a weak root. And generally speaking, when we only find two root letters, one of the root letters has probably dropped out because it is a weak letter. Now, the good news in all of this is that weak letters are generally predictable, and in the prefix forms anyway, they typically leave evidence of their disappearance. So, here, the key is the vowel that is under the prefix letter. So typically, in the vav conversive form, the vowel under the prefix is a hirek. That is a short E sound. So here we see vayishmor. We see the hirek there. Or again, vayifkod, hirek. or vayimtza, we see the hirek. So typically we expect that the vowel under the prefix in a strong root is going to be hirek. Here, however, is not a hirek, it's a tzere. So the tzere is the clue to what this verbal root is going to be. If the vowel under the prefix is a tzere, then there are two possibilities for what our root is. One is that the missing letter is an initial yod. So, if we see the word vayeshev, here you see the prefix has a tzere under the prefix. This comes from the root yashav. Vayered, again the tzere under the prefix. This is the root yarad. The second possibility is that the root is the root halach. Halach has a first hey, but it functions as though it has a first yod. It is a dog that thinks it's a cat, so it's a first hey that thinks it's a first yod, and it acts that way. So halach functions like first yod. So when we see vayelech, then we know that one of these two things is true. Either we've lost a yod, in which case we would say that vayelech comes from the root yud lamed chaf, yalach, or the root is halach, hey lamed chaf, our dog that thinks it's a cat. So vayelech could be halach. Now, the first time you encountered this, what you would need to do is look up in your lexicon the root yod lamed chaf and the root hey lamed chaf, and what you would discover is that there is no first yod root, yod lamed chaf, and so what we're looking at with vayelech is our dog that thinks it's a cat, hey lamed chaf, halach. All right, so we can finish our chart. We know we have a prefix, vav, conversive, third masculine, singular. The root we know is halach, and the stem is cow. So, translating then, and he walked, or and he went, vayelech. Okay, so now we know the subject and the verb. Vayelech David, we can translate, and David went. Vayelech David, and David went. So now we have to think about misham. Misham, you will recognize, is formed from the particle mem hirek double, which we have seen in our vocabulary in the particles. Mi means from or out of. The full form of this particle is min with a nun. Min. Now, what's happening here is that when the particle min attaches to another word, it causes doubling of the first letter of the next word. And the way that happens is this: if you add the particle min to the particle or to the word sham, then you would end up hypothetically with the word minsham. Minsham. But the nun is a weak letter, and it doesn't like to have the function of closing a syllable. Another way of saying it is the nun does not like to have a silent schwa underneath, and so when it does, it will try to shrivel up and get away. So whenever you see a nun over hypothetically anyway, over a silent schwa, you're expecting that it is going to disappear. What this nun will do is, instead of trying to stand there over the silent schwa closing the syllable, it's going to assimilate into the following letter. So you can think of it as the nun sort of curling up and hiding. It becomes a little dot in the next letter. So here's our min disappearing into our shin, and then our me sliding over there. So min sham becomes misham with the nun assimilated into that shin. Now we actually see this happening in English as well. So if you think about something that is not mobile, immobile becomes immobile with two M's. So that in the English N has doubled the M, immobile. Something that is illogical, we would say illogical, irreverent, irreverent. So this is simply a pronunciation issue in which the N does not like to close a syllable. It's true in Hebrew, it's true in English. In both cases, it doubles the following consonant. So misham is minsham, with the nun assimilated into the shin. So vayelech David misham. If sham means there, and it does, then misham would mean from there, or out of there. So the whole phrase, Vayelech David misham, would then mean, and David went from there.